Hello, everyone. It's been a while since I've done a crypto market update, and I wanted to start coming back on my YouTube channel and really making waves again and just giving everybody an update on my thoughts. I had a lot of fun when I was doing it quite a bit when we had a previous group, and then I kind of fell out of it a little bit. I didn't want to talk about it as much anymore because I think back then the market was like, what shit coin is going to pump, what blah blah, and it just really wasn't where I wanted to be. But I think where we're at as a market is we've evolved quite a bit, and the market's in a place now to where people have moved on from a lot of those poo poo coins and really just want to understand the crypto market as a whole. Newer people want to get involved, but they're a little bit afraid because of how volatile it is. People want to get involved in like yield farming and stuff like that. So the market's evolving to where people want more opportunities, but they don't necessarily want to get wrecked doing it. And so I kind of want to come back and really talk about that kind of stuff. And if you're inside my signals channel, I ask everybody questions now too. So every week I'm going to take questions from the people inside my channel. If you're interested in that link, just comment link below and we'll send it over to you. But I kind of wanted to just get started by talking about the current market structure and what's going on. So typically what I like to do to start is just look at coin market cap and kind of see what's going on. When you look at the market as a whole, what I kind of like to look at is where our 7-day percentage is, or even deeper, like our 30-day percentage, just to see what the market looks like from a macro perspective. And 7 days isn't really macro, but at least we can see where it's headed. And so Bitcoin is moving closer and closer to being in a maybe even a positive trajectory within a week. We had a pretty good updrive, but it got punched right back down. And so where I think we're at right now in terms of Bitcoin here is this is our 200-day moving average, which is pretty indicative of bullish runs. And so when we're above that, you can typically expect to have a pretty good bullish drive when we can drive above it. When we drive below it, we typically have these bearish movements where we're at right now. So if you look at this year, when we look at this 200-day average, we were right here in like March 2020, we were below it. Then we started to come above it, and then it rode above it, bounced, and then it drove. And we had that big drive from October till basically when it ended sort of in like April, and then the big dump in like May-ish. So if you notice though, that whole time we were above this 200-day moving average, and we stayed above it quite well. As soon as we bounced and we really got that updrive, we were up it. Then when we dove down and got dumped in May, we fell below it, and that put us in this little mini bear market we had. We tried to come back above it for a minute in September-ish, and then got punched right back down below. So then we were under it again right here. And then we had this final little drive in like November-ish. And then that ultimately resulted in us falling back below it. So that's where we're at right now. What needs to happen, in my opinion, is for us to, and if you've noticed, I made this little trend line. We bounced off it a few times before. So that's kind of a safety line I've drawn. But where we're at, and the safety line's moving up and up, obviously. So it's in a decent zone right now, but I think we really need to clear 49.4-ish. And this average is going to move consistently as the market moves. But we need to clear up in this like 49.50K range to really have good, solid bullish drive and momentum. So what I think will happen is where we're at right now, we've been trying to get past this like 45, this 44 to 46 zone for a while. So right here, we try over here, we got crushed, obviously, and went down. But then right here, we just tried, we got dumped, and now we're coming back up. It's going to try again. And if it makes it past, then I think it's going to retest that zone and come back up. It'll give it the strength to come and test this. It'll probably get rejected the first time, come back down to establish some support at like this 46 zone. Then if it falls through, obviously we go down. But if it bounces off and it has a good support, it's going to come back up and it'll test that again. If it breaks through that, then we're going to come through, we're going to bounce off that and see if we can use this as support like it did. Let's find a good zone where it did like it was doing back here. So it finally cleared above it, came up, bounced, and then it rode sideways for a little bit, and then finally was able to come through and clear. So that's probably what we'll see over here, should the market be able to. And obviously there's some big factors into play, like what happens at the Fed's meeting in March. Bitcoin's been pretty sensitive to. And we're also going to be looking at some situations to where maybe like the Russia-Ukraine problem could, if that gets into a full-scale war, it's probably going to cause a dump. But right now, I think we're in a zone to where we're sort of comfortable moving sideways right now. We don't have a lot of good price action. You look at the derivatives market, they're positive, which means longs are paying shorts. So maybe we have a little bit of favoring in the shorts, but what's been happening, and what I've noticed right now is we've been squeezing out shorts quite a bit. So we've been having these violent moves and this massive violent move, and I haven't seen Bitcoin move like that in a while. So if we keep having those little violent moves, it's going to give us the strength to hit, dive, hit, drive, and continually move up. So I think it's actually, the market looks like it's in a pretty decent position for an updrive, but the market also looks like people are trying to be conservative so they don't get crushed or wrecked. So for me right now, one of the biggest factors for me was clearing that like 43K zone to consider being like a hodl zone. So this is a zone where you just hold your coins. You're not necessarily diving deep into the market, and this isn't financial advice, but you're not like going all in. You're not like panic selling or anything. I think for me, if we fall below this trend line again and we can't go above it, that's going to cause a problem and we will go back down. So for me, it's kind of like I know right here, it's like the 42,000 range, but really, I think we'd be comfortable around like the 40,000 range. If we stay above that, I think the market will be in a good position to range like this, bounce up and down until we can clear into the next updrive. So it's kind of what I see with Bitcoin. And when you look at Bitcoin, the alts look similar. Often people do all this TA on the different alts, but typically the market follows Bitcoin. So if you know what Bitcoin's doing, it's going to help you identify what the alts are going to do. And when I look at the alts, I basically just look at the ETH BTC chart to see how strong ETH is against Bitcoin. And so if I look at this chart, we have that 200-day moving average as well. And if you've noticed here, we were above it, kind of doing okay. We're actually getting close to being above it again. When we had this massive drive in like April, that put us into this little channel in May, and then we kind of started dumping back down, but it hasn't been horrible and we're getting closer to it. And so what that tells me is the alts are sort of frothing for like an alt season. So if Bitcoin stabilizes and moves just incrementally up, it's going to push this above this 200-day. And then what's going to happen is we're going to do another test like this. So then the alts are going to come through, they're going to test this line, and then they're going to launch up, which could put us into an alt season where alts start to explode. And so it appears that we're probably going to see that by like the end of February, early March. We tried right here, and that's when Bitcoin got wrecked and just took the whole market down with it. So we got rejected. But if it doesn't get rejected, that puts us in a pretty good position for alts to kind of finally launch and really go on a massive momentum drive, kind of like they did. Like you look at this big one they did back here, that was beautiful, and that was like March 2017. The last time we've seen a pretty good drive like that was March 31st, but still, like, look at these two differences. We have this little one, and then these massive drives. Alts haven't had a beautiful alt season like that since March 2017. And so if we have something like that, alts are going to go bonkers. Like, it's ridiculous how crazy it gets when that does happen. So ETH and most of the other altcoins will typically follow this. And I put this line here because for me, that's kind of like, if we hit that zone, it puts us near where the previous cycle kind of started to top out. And then the top was actually up here, but gives us a good indicator to where it hit resistance here and here where it got rejected. And then we didn't even come close on this one. So all I'm saying is if we can clear above this 200-day moving average that we're fairly close to right now, and if Bitcoin can stay stable and generally positive, then it could put us in a position to challenge this trend line again and move into a pretty decent alt season, which would be incredible. And then when I look at the alts right now, what I think is really looking bullish, it seems AVAX, it wants to explode. This reminds me of Ethereum in like 2017. It wants to go crazy. It like Bitcoin moves a tiny bit and AVAX pumps 10%. Bitcoin dumps, AVAX still stays positive. There's so much momentum behind this coin right now. It's ridiculous. I could see AVAX moving past Solana, Cardano, and XRP and comfortably sitting in the top. I think the other thing we're going to start to see is a lot of these stable coins are going to move into the top 10 because stable coins are essentially they're the keystone and the centerpiece to the crypto economy because they're what we use to buy, trade, sell, move around, and ultimately be able to hold profits in. So I think for me, AVAX is just ridiculous right now. I think it just still appears undervalued. The coin wants to go crazy. The ecosystem is expanding. I think it just has so much more potential. I think Luna is a great one as well. I think it had a lot of issues with the whole MIM problem and a lot of stuff like that, which in order for UST to stay pegged, Luna gets burned to keep UST on peg. So if UST falls off peg, then Luna has to essentially go down to get burned to keep that on peg. The other ones that I look at, as soon as Bitcoin starts moving, Polygon typically pumps, it goes nuts. Terra, like I was saying, is one of the few decentralized stablecoins. So great pick. Atom has actually held its value pretty well. I think it was close to 40, but it's still sitting here at 28. I think Uni and Chainlink are kind of just, in terms of the coin itself, there's just not a lot of momentum or reason to care about them right now. Mana, it was up 17% yesterday. So Mana is ridiculous. I think that's a great pickup. Fantom, I think, is one of the most undervalued coins right now because the ecosystem is incredible and there's so much opportunity in there and people still haven't really discovered it outside of like Twitter and Reddit. Sandbox, another great one. Elrond, it's starting to pick itself back up. This is a massively volatile coin, but it's been moving well and it's been moving on par with like AVAX recently is what I've noticed. I don't know what, I thought Theta was, the coin just completely died and fell off the face of the earth. And all of a sudden now it's got a little pump, not something I would jump into, but it's interesting to see. Axie made some changes and it's shown to be a lot more bullish since they've made those changes. It seemed like the project may just die, but with a couple of changes in regards to like Smooth Love Potion and stuff like that, it seems like they're in a lot better position than they were. So it's kind of where I'm at with the market. Harmony was doing super well. If they can clear like 25 cents, that would make me comfortable to jump in. And when I look at coins, and when I look at like when I'm going to buy into something, what I'll do, and let's look at Harmony, for example. Oh, there's too many lines there. This will be confusing. Let's look at live peer. So what I typically do is I find where like a top was or a peak, something like, and then I'll draw like a 30% retracement zone and a 50. And that's essentially my buy zone right here. So if it's within this range and it gets above this and clears, then I'm comfortable jumping in, like live peer, $37. And if it gets to this range and clears above, I'm comfortable jumping in as well. Outside of these ranges, I probably won't dive in. So right now it's not in a comfortable zone for me. When I look at like Near, which was doing well, Near would technically be, it's almost in a pretty good zone for me. When we look at like Immutable X, the top was here. It's outside of this zone. And the reason I create these zones is because that's where I'm comfortable jumping in. Sometimes when the coins get down here, they just keep going and they die. So I want to see that strength before I actually jump into it. So that way I'm comfortable with where the market is. So that's kind of where I think the market is. In a nutshell, where basically Bitcoin is slowly progressing up. I think it's in a good zone. This 43 to like 45 zone is where we're at right now. We need to clear that 45, 46. And then we need, which will give us the momentum to try to challenge 49.50. If we clear 49.50, it puts us above that 200-day moving average, which is a really bullish sign. And if we can stay above that, it gives us momentum to really drive up. I think the market is being cautious right now because of all the things happening. And I think March is really going to dictate, and the Russia-Ukraine situation are really going to dictate where the market heads after that. So that's pretty much all I have for that. What I wanted to do next is like, what am I doing right now in the market while it just sits there sideways? Well, for me, I've been mostly in Fantom. So I've been Binance US, you can buy Fantom. You can move your Fantom directly into your Fantom wallet from Binance, which makes it super easy using like MetaMask. And then you can get in there and you can play with the community. And the cool thing about the community on Fantom is you can create these like looping feedback strategies, which are really neat for me because what it essentially does is it allows me to like dive into one project, like let's look at Liquid Driver, and then I'll get rewards in Liquid Driver, and then I'll move them over and I'll put them in Beats, and then I'll get rewards in Beats, and I'll put that into either more Beats or I'll move it back and I'll put it in my pools in Liquid Driver, and it continuously makes this loop. And the pools I use in Liquid Driver, I tend to be a little more conservative than crazy chasing APR. So I'll look at like 50 to like 70, 50 to like 100% APY on like a Fantom stablecoin pair. So Fantom MIM, Fantom US dollar coin, Fantom Tether, and those become my bases. So then what I do is I get the rewards in Liquid Driver, put it in Beats, get the rewards in Beats, move that back, put it in my stable base, move it, and it creates a circular strategy to where I'm essentially collecting more of Fantom. I'm collecting more Fantom, collecting more of a stable coin, and then obviously collecting Liquid Driver and Beats as well at the same time, but I'm not directly investing into Liquid Driver and Beats because they're very small caps and they're very volatile. So I don't want to put money directly into it. I want to earn and get into there. So, and the other thing is Anchor, just keeping Anchor on the horizon as a great place to hold stables UST and earn 20% APY. So outside of that, I have a couple of questions that I want to answer. And if you have questions, just comment down below and I'll go through the questions. But someone said top stable coins and what makes them stable choices. So basically, when I look at stable coins, see if I'm even logged in. So when I look at stable coins, what I want to look at are stable coins that are actually stable and that are holding their peg. So like obviously Tether is holding its peg and it's stable. Some people say it's a ticking time bomb, but it's one of the biggest ones and it's held well. US dollar coin, another great one that holds well. When I look at stable coins, I want to make sure they've been around, they've been tested to hold their peg, because if they don't hold their peg and then the market panics, the thing's going to collapse and fall apart. So Tether, US dollar coin for me, and then Binance, obviously. Binance US dollars held very well. Those are three sort of centralized coins. They can be shut off. They're not necessarily decentralized if that's what you're looking for. And then Terra is probably my favorite, UST, because Terra is a fully decentralized stable coin. So that means there's nobody who controls it, nobody who can just shut it down like they can with Tether, Binance US dollar, and US dollar coin. Tether is also the backbone of the Luna network. So I think it's the largest stablecoin that's actually decentralized. So I think it has a lot of potential, and I think it's very safe because it's been tested. It's fallen off peg last year when it was new, but they've readjusted and made it work well to where it stays quite well on peg. Even with a couple of recent events that may have pushed it off, it's actually held super well. DAI typically is great. There's a couple others that are really popular right now that have held well, like MIM and Frax have held really well. So I think those are great stable coins. And then you've just got a bunch being made. So you just have to be careful. Just because it's a stable coin doesn't mean it's safe, because it still can fall off peg. The market can panic and the whole thing can get crushed. The other question I had was, how has the market changed due to more regulatory hands, and how should the market be looked at moving forward when it comes to investing? So I think basically the way the market's changing is the Bitcoin market's becoming more mature. The crypto market is becoming more mature. People are able to not necessarily sell their coins, but they can hedge via like the CME markets. They can hedge via the futures markets. They can do things that allow them to move money around and to make money and get rid of their potential for loss without actually getting rid of their coins. So I think what we're seeing now is we're seeing institutions coming in, and essentially they're able to play in the game, and they also manipulate the game quite well. So what we're going to see now, I think, and where we're at is longer cycles. So we're going to see bull runs that go up, but they go up slower. We're not going to see crazy impulse moves like we used to see in the past, but we're going to see gradual ups. And then we'll still see the plummets because they'll still take profits and move out, recollect, and come back up. So we've moved into an environment where we have large players in the game who are manipulating the market very well and who are creating a lengthened market because of that, and a market that's becoming much more mature. So I think moving forward, we're going to see less volatility in crypto. So less of what it used to be and more of the capabilities of essentially being able to see how the market flows in a longer cycle. Next question was, what to look for when choosing a platform like Celsius, Nexo, and other pros and cons. So I think when you're looking at those platforms, you want to look at security. Like Nexo has a great insurance plan for coins. You want to look at who has the best APYs based on the coins you're holding. And then you want to look how easy it is to get in and out and how they've performed during when the market gets crushed. So for me, one of my favorites is probably Nexo, because it's basically an all-in-one. I can hold my coins in there. I can move fiat in and out of there. I can move coins in and out of there. I get good rates. I can put my rates into Nexo or right back into the coins. I can take asset-backed loans in there if I want to. So it provides me basically an all-in-one. I think Celsius and BlockFi are great. BlockFi just had that settlement with the US government, though. So I think that's just regulatory concerns create issues. And once they start getting sued, it might ruin the innovation of the project, because innovation sort of stifles creativity often, and it makes the market more mature and unable to do what it used to do. And last question was where to find info on Web3. So I think if you want more info on Web3, Polkadot's the place to go, like the Web3 Foundation. I think Polkadot's basically the leader. It's super early. Polkadot Kusama, a great place to look to find out more about like Web3, what they're doing, where they're moving with it, how it's operating, events, how you can get more involved. So that's kind of where I would look. Just go to this project, go to this website, and you can kind of get an idea of the projects available, the grants that they have available to new projects, and really dive deep into Web3 and what it looks like in the future. So that's pretty much all I have to say for today. Hopefully this was helpful. If you have any questions about anything I talked about, just drop those down below. Make sure that you like and subscribe to this channel so that way I know that everyone likes what I'm talking about. I'm going to try to do this crypto update once a week. I'm going to do a business video once a week and a health video once a week. So we have health, business, and essentially everything sort of all in one. And I want to bring back a voice in the market that can be a little bit conservative, but also a little bit crazy and have some fun and not really play into the game where you lose everything. And remember, this whole thing's educational. This isn't financial advice. So I hope this was helpful. If you liked it, just give me a like and just comment like down below. And if you have questions, comment with those down below and I will cover those in a future video.